for Dr. El-Muhammady, do you think that when we discuss about extremism, terrorism, and radicalism, we often use these three terms interchangeably? So, in order for us to really understand whether these three terms are the same or not, how can we distinguish and define this? Are they the same? Should we equate extremism with terrorism and radicalism, or are they different? What do you think, Dr. El-Muhammady?
Thank you very much, Moderator Dr. Rabia. Good morning, everyone. And first and foremost, I would like to welcome all of you to the session. And it is a great honor for us to have our co-panelists, Dr. Daniel Muhammad Yusuf from the STAC, and also Dr. Muhammad Ilyas from the University of Liverpool. And I welcome everybody here to this discussion. And I hope that, yes, I also not to forget to mention, to congratulate the organizer for organizing this forum, especially the cluster of Women for Progress research under the leadership of Professor Farida Abdul Manaf. And this is very timely programs, a very timely conversation that we have, and I hope that this conversation will bring about clarity and awareness about what's going on in the world today. And I also hope that we can understand what are the role that we can play as a part of the global community. To answer this question, I have 4 points. First, of course, for the past many years, people have been asking me about the same question, whether or not the terms extremism, radicalism, and terrorism are having the same meaning or they are different. It is a very complicated question to answer, but I have formula to answer it or to deal with this problem, given my opportunity to work both sides as an academic and also with a practitioner. I view these terms as having symbiotic relationship. Of course, if you look at the term symbiotic, is the terms used in biology or is the terminology in the field of biology, but I find it very useful to explain the social phenomenon or the problem that we have today. So when the organism having a symbiotic relationship, the relationship could be in the form of mutualism, that the symbiont would be having a mutual benefit from that relationship. They also could be in the form of commensalism, that is one symbiont having a benefit, the other are not. And also could be in the form of a parasitism, that is one symbiont would be having a benefit and the other actually in the state of harms. So I view the terms radicalism, extremism, and terrorism as a symbiotic relation, as having a symbiotic relationship, because these terms are having a close relationship and closely linked to one another, and it is mutually supportive. The reason why I view that way, because it is connected to another term, that is radicalization. So that is my second point. We have to understand radicalization. Radicalization simply means how people become or how people acquire an extremist ideas and translating them into action. So this is the process of radicalization. So radicalization basically having two components. One is the level of ideas in which that you are learning, acquiring the ideas, and the other parts is the action parts, the action level. So let us go back to the term itself. The term radicalism, usually commonly understood as the ideas and movement or activity that is aiming at bringing about dramatic or complete changes in society or political system. And sometimes this idea could be extreme because it is unreasonable to some people and also unacceptable. For example, the tolerance to violence. So these are very extreme ideas, or rejection of multicultural ideas of society. This is another extreme idea that can bring about conflict in society. And sometimes this idea also could be translated in the form of violence, and that could be terrorism. So that's why I view these terms, even though it is different, but we can see it is having close relationship between one another, especially if we can see the relationship, how the ideas exist in the people's mind, and sometimes it can be translated into form of action. Third point I would like to mention is there are three vantage points that we can see this term. First, as an academics like to debate things. They look at definition and they try to debate, try to analyze, unpack the terms, and at some point they reach a point of conclusion, or they call it as operational definition that they can use in research. So that is the first perspective that we can look at it. Second is a practitioner that I refer to the professional law enforcement agency. They have a different set of criteria of assessing and saying that these things are considered radical, extremist, or terrorism. But basically, there are two principles that they would follow. First, whether or not it exists in the level of ideas or in the level of action. If it is the level of ideas, it is protected by the law because, well, it is part of freedom, it is part of human rights to subscribe to certain ideas, a certain ideology. But whenever you translate that idea in the form of action, when it comes to the action level, then you are crossing the line from the level of idea to the level of action. I think this is the core debate of what is going on in France. France is giving the freedom to the citizen, and the state has granted this freedom to the people in their regardless of religion to subscribe to whatever ideas that they're going to have. The difference that they would make is whether or not this idea is translated in the form of action. So it seems that those people who cut the throat of the teacher has crossed the line in terms of translating what is going on in their mind to the level of action. So that is the second point, or the second perspective. Third perspective is from the perspective of the media. Of course, the media would use the term to suit their agenda. And I would like to bring another point, that is the point number 4. The presence of this problem, that is radicalism or extremism or terrorism, is actually as a common thing in modern society. And Malaysia is not excluded from that. France is a clear example of the presence of these problems. Especially, we can see this fragility or the problem can tend to happen in the multiracial society. Malaysia is one of the examples. France actually experienced this kind of problems as a result of immigration that happened recently. And this is very dangerous situation, especially if you do not manage this very carefully. And my final point is, of course, if you look at Southeast Asia, we are a multiracial society and the big destination for refugee and immigration, but we are able to sustain our stability and to some extent its harmony with the right combination of the soft and hard approach. I think that France and Europe also can learn from Southeast Asia instead of looking in other countries. Thank you very much.